Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris are set to face off tonight in their first and only debate, and it promises to be very different in the wake of President Trump's COVID-19 diagnosis. With plexiglass separating them, a lot of protections in place. They're going to be seated instead of standing, 12 feet apart instead of 6. Here to talk about that and more is Ben Koltun, Senior Research Analyst at Beacon Policy Advisors. Ben, good to see you again. So do you think we can expect a kinder, gentler debate tonight?
Yes, definitely. These are two polished politicians. And the first rule of medicine and vice presidential debate politics is to do no harm. This was a lesson that John McCain learned the hard way when picking Sarah Palin in 2008. But both Pence and Harris are doing a good job of being second fiddle to the top of the tickets. But the problem for Pence is that it's not just do no harm that is enough. He has to undo the harm that President Trump has caused to his own campaign. And so with 27 days until the November 3rd election, the task falls upon Pence at tonight's debate to do what Trump has failed to do so far in changing the dynamics of the race. This means tying Senator Kamala Harris to the far left and things like court packing of the Supreme Court, of eliminating the filibuster, defunding the police, and making her and Biden an unacceptable alternative, while also kind of smoothing the edges of Donald Trump's pathos to independent voters. This isn't something that was dissimilar to 4 years ago when on the eve of the 2016 vice presidential debate where Trump was trailing Hillary Clinton and Pence was able to kind of win the debate 4 years ago. But unlike 4 years ago, Trump is trailing Biden by even more. There are fewer undecided voters, and Joe Biden just isn't the useful foil that Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago.
Ben, certainly want to dive. Go ahead, Alexis, go ahead.
At the end of the day, how important is this debate in changing the minds of voters who might be on the fence? Or is this really about invigorating, lighting a fire under their respective bases?
It's more kind of reinvigorating. And at least for Pence, it's about bringing kind of the Republicans back into the fold. As we've seen with kind of the debate and with Trump contracting COVID, his polling has moved away from him. And that may mean that there's some hesitant conservatives who do not like the pathos of Donald Trump. And Mike Pence is someone who's more conservative than Donald Trump, but has a more smoother edge to kind of give the reaction of what it means to be Republican and to kind of frame the debate as more of a choice in the referendum. For Kamala Harris, it's kind of doing what Biden has been doing, which is to kind of keep the focus on the pandemic, keep the focus on Donald Trump, make this a referendum, and just kind of be a checkbox of like, this is something that you have to do, but you don't want to make any news.
Ben, just moments ago, new tweet from President Trump, quote, "Move fast. I'm waiting to sign." Of course, President Trump referencing a potential stimulus plan and copying in Speaker Pelosi in on that tweet. On the topic of stimulus, if let's just say there is a status quo here, President Trump wins, the Dems control the House, the Republicans control the Senate. What does that mean for a stimulus plan in early 2021?
In early 2021, if Donald Trump is reelected, there is a chance that you could see a stimulus, even before that, in the lame duck session that you saw when Trump tweeted last night that he said he didn't want to do a deal before the election, but he was willing to do a big one after. That is kind of the one possibility where you could see maybe something in the $1.5 trillion range of a stimulus deal in December after the November election if Trump is reelected. Now that's because that Democrats, they're hoping that they think that they're going to win the election and that they hold leverage to kind of have their deal come to like the 2.2 or at least or even greater in like the $3 trillion range. But if they lose, they'll be very deflated and they won't have that leverage. And Trump will want to have kind of the wind at his sails when he comes and becomes inaugurated in 2020 in January. And he'd like to see at least a $1.5 trillion deal by then.
Ben, the next presidential debate is slated for next week, next Thursday, October 15th. Joe Biden has already come out and said if the president is still positive for COVID-19, he doesn't want the debate to happen. What are the odds that that debate goes fully virtual? And do you think that the Trump camp would agree to that if it turns out to be the only way Joe Biden would do a debate?
I think President Trump is going to push as hard as he can if he feels able and he's not having a coughing fit to have an in-person debate. And it'll be really, the onus will be on the debate commission to deny Trump that. And as we've seen in the first debate, where they really didn't have rigorous standards for testing for COVID, and they let Trump's family be in the debate hall without masks, it seems like that they're not going to move aside and say that Trump cannot debate in person if he insists that he can. And then the question is, what does Biden do in response? He's saying that he will not debate if if he's testing positive for COVID. But if Trump's not willing to do a test, then the chances are that Biden just walks away from the debates, and he wouldn't be any worse for wear.
Ben, Trump advisor Larry Kudlow saying in an interview this morning that President Trump did return to the Oval Office on Tuesday. What are your thoughts?
Well, Trump is all about optics, and he wants to kind of appear as a strong president. And in all the debate and all the qualities of kind of the polling, he's not seen as trustworthy. He's not seen as honest. He does not seen as empathetic, but he is seen as strong, at least compared to Joe Biden. And he's banking on kind of that strength as being that he defeated COVID and that he's kind of at work, that these are the optics that will kind of win his base over. Just the challenge is that has shown not to be enough when it comes to winning this election. 4 years ago, Trump actually won in battleground states when asked by voters who was the most honest or trustworthy compared to Clinton. And that's just not the case today. And so while he may appear stronger than Biden in some instances, I think it's a misguided attempt to understand what really matters among the independents, the moderates, the older voters that will be crucial to 2020.